Hi guys, this is Dr. Joe Borio with this week's Health Kick. Today we want to talk about osteoporosis. Why? Osteoporosis is important to understand. Not only does it affect and afflict many Americans, men and women, certainly more prone in women, but the spine is made of bone, and if the spine isn't healthy, it'll tend to collapse. Some of you may have heard of the terms compression fractures. And what that means is the spine actually, kind of like a Pepsi can, if you empty it and you step on it, it collapses upon itself. And the problem with that, obviously, is your spine houses your spinal cord and your nerves, which is essentially your nervous system. It's the wiring system that sends data up and down to the brain and organs to process. So if the spine gets sick or diseased as a result of osteoporosis, the diagnosed term of it on a film, for example, or on a density test is osteopenia. I should say that it's the beginning of it, where you're starting to see the bone is losing its density. That's called osteopenia. When you start to see that, what it indicates is the bone is starting to get weaker, and with osteoporosis, certainly you're much more prone to fractures and more compression of the nervous system, or hips, or shoulders, or vertebrae, or what have you. So definitely an important topic, both for the public and for chiropractors, because we're vitally concerned about the health and integrity of the nervous system. So what is osteoporosis? Well, when we look at the word osteo, in Latin means bone. Porosis, porous, meaning filled with many holes, which you're going to let something sift through, if you will, or leak through. So that means that the bone starts to become very porous. It starts to have a lot of holes in it. It becomes lighter. It becomes less dense. It starts to become more frail or fragile, and as a result, the spine loses its strength and resiliency, its ability to reverberate. What the heck does that mean? Well, what it means is like a tuning fork. When you have impact on the body and something gets compressed, there's a little bit of vibration, a little reverberation that occurs that allows the body to absorb that impact, and that actually adds to the strength of the bone. The other aspect, obviously, is the strength by the amount of calcium, and then the health of little bars in there. They're called trabeculae, but little bars, angles of bone inside the bone itself. It allows the bone to become very strong and very resilient. So you don't want your bone to be solid bone, because it would be way too heavy and it would actually be brittle. So we want the bone to have a certain amount of air in it, if you will, or a certain amount of space in it, and that allows it to be light, but it also has to have a good amount of calcium and a lot of healthy structure in there to have a lot of, like I said, strength and resiliency. So that being said, let's look at strength of bone and osteoporosis. The example I always use during my nutrition workshop is the dinosaur Brachiosaurus, one of the largest land mammals that ever existed in history. And they've never dug one up that had osteopenia or osteoporosis. So a paleontologist never dug up a dinosaur that said, hey, these bones are weak and fragile, and these dinosaurs weren't drinking enough cow's milk. So they didn't take enough calcium supplementation. So we have to be very realistic and kind of use some common sense and see, geez, you know, if osteoporosis doesn't really exist naturally in its natural environment with mammals, why is it so prone or common in humans? That doesn't make sense. Well, it really comes down to what we eat. And when we look at the dinosaur Brachiosaurus, it's a herbivore. What the heck does that mean? It means it eats vegetation. It eats leaves, leafy vegetation. So it's getting its minerals from the ground, which would be calcium, and it gets a lot of it from the ground. But there's another really important aspect of that, and that is the alkalinity of the food and the mammal. By that I mean, we've probably heard of like acid. If something's very acidic, I'll give you the example. If you take a bone out of like a steak and you put it into a can of soda, or a glass of soda, within a few days the bone totally disintegrates. Why? Because the phosphoric acid in the soda deteriorates or disintegrates the bone. And that's important to understand, because the more acidic your body is, the more it's apt to disintegrate. Not quite as caustic as the Coca-Cola, but it'll tend to disintegrate the bone in your body. So we want to be alkaline, and guess what makes us alkaline? Vegetation. So eating more or a lot of green leafies will certainly do two things. It'll increase the amount of calcium or mineralization that you actually bring into your body. And secondly, what it'll do is it'll alkalize your body, allowing your body a lot of other benefits other than retaining calcium, but certainly to retain calcium. Supplementation, I'm asked that all the time. Absolutely, over the age of 35, it's a good idea to have 1,000 at very minimum. What's recommended by most nutritionists now is at least 1,500, 2,000 milligrams calcium a day. Not to get too complicated, but if you're using calcium carbonate or forms of calcium that are in a basic environment like Tums, a lot of calcium, but it alkalizes the stomach, which means you need to be acidic in the stomach, inside your stomach, not your bloodstream, not your urine, but inside the stomach in order to absorb it. So not a real good source of calcium. Also milk. There's so much information on milk. I don't mean to make any of the dairy farmers upset. I certainly like a glass of milk once in a while, but that should not be a main staple in your diet. You don't get your milk from or calcium from milk. Most of it is, or I shouldn't say most of it, but a lot of it is bound to protein that you don't have the enzyme to cleave off to even absorb the calcium. There is an animal that has that protein. Hey, it's a cow. So, because they're designed to drink milk, and it actually isn't even cows, it's calves. We're designed to drink milk. So as humans, we were designed to drink our mother's milk, no longer up until really about the age of 4. Sounds a little odd now, but when we were hunter-gatherers, it didn't seem so far-fetched. After that, we're meant to really walk and eat meals about the size of our hand to put inside of our body to make us healthy and proper digestion and so forth. So green leafies is where you want to go. Now, when we talk about acidity and alkalinity, a good little starting place, you go to any local drugstore and get a pH, what's called litmus, L-A-T-M-U-S, paper, and it will actually check your pH. The best place to check it is your urine. You can do it midstream, or you can put urinate in a cup and then put the litmus paper in there. And then what you're going to do is you're going to check to see what your alkalinity of your body is, essentially. And if you find that your body is very alkaline, not acidic, chances are you're much more apt to retain a lot of your calcium or your integrity of bone. If you're somebody that's very acidic, below 7, then what that means is you're definitely going to be somebody that's more prone to losing their bone. So it's not the amount of calcium as important. It's certainly not all hormones, though I'm not saying hormones don't play a role, but the reality is it really comes down to the food you eat and the alkalinity of the body that has really the most to do with the integrity of bone. A couple important kind of tips is that the United States is the highest consumer of milk, and we have the highest rate of osteoporosis on planet Earth. So when you go to, for example, Japan, or you go to cultures that are eating off the land, they just essentially don't have any osteoporosis. So that's why it's really important to identify that, understand that, and obviously you're going to be healthier if you eat green leafies anyways, because not only are you getting a lot more vitamins and minerals, but you're getting a lot of good fiber for the colon, and that's the #1 cancer in the United States is colon cancer. So lo and behold, I guess we were supposed to eat a lot of our green leafies, so kind of important to understand that. This has been Dr. Joe Borio with this week's Health Kick. I want to remind everybody in closing that we want to make sure we're eating well, we're exercising, we're drinking a lot of water, getting a good night's sleep, and we are doing some good self-talk, saying good messages inside our head to ourselves. That certainly makes us healthy. And don't forget, guys, your family, everyone you know needs to be, just like you go to a dentist, needs to be on a regular chiropractic care to keep the integrity of the nervous system, so the brain that communicates to the body, all that data, all that information is getting to the organs, and all that information get back up to the brain. That's the only way to really maintain pure health and allow your body to function like nature intended it. This has been Dr. Joe Borio with this week's Health Kick. Have a great, healthy week. I look forward to talking to you guys next week.